Start your day.
The Gen Z and the ballot, just where exactly are we with that? But before we get to that conversation, Kamanya, do you have a plan?
I do.
Now, let me tell you about the plan that one ICEA Lion has for you. Now, we talk about the future a lot, right? And plans, goals, and the tough choices that shape them. But here's a question. What exactly is your plan? I repeat that question. Life is moving fast, bills, dreams, responsibilities, and somewhere in between, the future creeps on you. And if you don't have a plan, it will get really difficult. But ICEA Line helps you protect, grow, and plan for what matters most. Now, don't wait for the wake-up call. Do not wait. Usingoje, because by the time you're waiting, perhaps it's really too late. So insurance, investments, and peace of mind all made simple and accessible, because if you're not planning for the future, it is high time you did. If you don't plan, you plan to fail. ICEA Lion. What's your plan? Is the question. Ndio swali inaulizwa, what's your plan? But even after having this plan and you have your investment, you've put your money in a place where it is growing and all that, you need to go spend this money. But where exactly are we spending this money? Now, Naivas has a new kid on the block. And this new kid on the block is Naivas One Mall Magadi. Now, Magadi Road just got hotter because Naivas is in town. The brand new Naivas One Mall Magadi Road branch is officially open, being the 111th, 123 Hadi 111th branch that is here. And this branch appreciates everyone, all of us, for 35 years of loyalty. So Naivas, 35 years, 111 branches, and this one is the new kid on the block along Magadi Road. And things are moving fast with excitement, and you know what that means? Fresh deals, great vibes, and aisles full of your favorites. So depending on what your favorite is, or which aisle, I'll not ask is your favorite, that is where you get to go, because you'll get what you need. Now, so when you hit Magadi Road, make that Naivas freshness, that is the spot for you. So when you hit Magadi Road, make that one quick stop. Shop Kikwetu style. So when you go to Naivas, you don't just shop.
No.
You shop Kikwetu. And when you shop Kikwetu, you go to aisles that are full. You know, and with this, there are also discounts. So you get discounts on goods that are less than 1K. And you can grab toasters, blenders, kettles, and win big on TVs, fridges, microwaves, and so much more. Naivas is saying it saves you money. So you're spending well, you're getting discounts, you're living well, you know, and everything is aire.
And there is variety.
Everything and variety as well, especially on those aisles. But let's get to the conversation this morning, because we have our guest on the hot seat, and we have Anthony Murithi Mugo, who is a political strategist and policy thinker, karibu sana, and Sophie Mugure Njehia, who is the SG, the Revolutionary Gen Z Movement, Youth Perspective, Gen Z, and the ballot. It's a conversation that is rife. IEBC has given us its positions on where we are in terms of pretty much the registration. Is it a question of voter suppression? Because that is a conversation that is out there. Are we getting the right numbers? And the Gen Zs, why are they not turning out to vote, to register as voters in the coming election? But before that, let's go to Mauritania. Today we are in Mauritania. So before we get to the conversation, the hot seat, lazima tuwapatie kazi. We are in Mauritania, a country that is big on matters to do with extractive economy, you know. And when we are here, so you talk about copper, you talk about iron ore that they do have, and a country with all this still considered to be a poor country. How that happens baffles, but perhaps it is something that the country needs to do to ensure that it gets to a level where it is not poor. Patience is the key to relief, is the proverb. Ladies, go first.
Patience is the key to relief. I think good things take time. Yeah. In a nutshell.
Short and easy. Yeah, short and sweet. How would you go about it?
I actually wanted to say almost the same, but in different words. That to succeed, it's not to bring it home. It's not a microwave moment. You know, in my local dialect, we say if you want to cook good and sweet githeri, cook it on the jiko, not on the stall.
How would you say it in your dialect? Just say it.
Wokiriria. Nikugunaga. Yeah.
Yeah, you see, it sounds better when you say it in your dialect, right? But let's dive straight into the conversation. So the IEBC has come out and said it needs to register some 6.3 million Kenyans, and all these majority of them, the young people, who needs to get into the voters register ahead of the 2027 election. But what we see is the voter turnout is low. Even if you look at the recent release, a report by IEBC, we're talking about some 70,000 Kenyans who are turned out. First of all, in your own assessment, is that the correct number? And if it is, why aren't the young people coming out to register as voters? Shida iko wapi? Lady goes first.
Well, I think the numbers are a bit higher than 70,000. Let's say 90,000. That is what they gave us recently. But it is good to remember that they are doing, of the 6.3 million, they plan to do that in 3 phases. They don't plan to register 6.3 million at once. So within their first phase, which is from the moment they started in September up to December, that they plan to do 10% of the 6.3 million, which is around 630,000 voters. Then on the second phase, which is 2026, they said they plan to do 40%, which is around 2.5 million. And the third phase, which is the last phase as we approach the elections, the other 315,000 voters. But it is also good to note that there are things that the IEBC needs to do to make that possible. For instance, you're telling us to go and register at the IEBC offices in the constituency level. I'm a young person, I'm jobless, I don't have a job. And for me to get to that constituency office, I need transport. So who's giving me that money? Am I going to eat, or am I going to spend time going to the IEBC office to register? You're not advertising on media stations to tell people that, hey, voter registration is ongoing and it's continuous, come. You're not doing that. We're not having posters. So really, how do you expect the numbers to go up, and you have not exhausted all mechanisms to ensure that information is properly dispensed to the masses? So I genuinely think it's a systemic issue, and I think it is deliberate of the government to curtail the IEBC of funds and of human resource to be able to sell the narrative that we are not registering, but they're not offering the mechanisms to ensure that the IEBC is properly funded and it's given the mechanisms it needs to ensure that these numbers are an actual reality. And in my opinion, that is one way of rigging.
Well, Sophie, you hate. Today is it's Combat Friday. But the argument has been, when the revolution began in 2024, the Gen Zs were very charged. The people came out in their respective counties, towns, and cities, unfacilitated. They paid their own bus fares. They walked, with a flag, a phone, and a bottle of water. There was an anticipation that the same energy, the same drive will be seen, self-driven by the Gen Zs to registration as voters. And that is not yet happening.
You see, it is prudent to understand that a wounded soldier seldomly goes to war. So we are wounded as young people of this nation, and we are wounded by the very systems that we are depending on to enable us to achieve our future and good governance and everything that is very important to us as young people. So right now, we're dealing with so many things because, first of all, we have so many of us who are still in jail for trumped-up charges of terrorism.
Right.
We have so many of us who are still nursing wounds of bullets from the protest.
Correct.
We have seen that matters. For example, I'm seeing Eliud Lagat's face on this newspaper. He's still eating taxpayers' money and moving around with our money. Yet he is among the suspects in the case of Albert Ojwang. We're having Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo outside, still abducted. We're having Kenyans suffering at the hands of the same systems that we are expecting to help us.
Yeah.
So first of all, as young people, we have a trust issue. And that is, I think, what we need to address moving forward in our civic education. As we're planning to rid Kenyans of voter apathy, we need to find ways of building trust in these systems. And just because we are wounded, just because a lion has been rained on, don't mistake it for a cat.
So,
still a lion.
Anthony, I hear Sophie speak and a wounded soldier, IEBC not doing voter education, advertising, registration exercises taking place in their offices, and it is making it difficult for would-be new voters to come out and go do that. Is there a case in that argument?
From Sophie's point of view, there's a case is subject to how you prosecute it. She does raise a valid point, but equally, government has a monopoly of everything when it wants to achieve a certain goal. And I'll give you a case in point. When we wanted to impeach the former deputy president, mobilization, resources, and advertisement was done overnight. Every MP was in their constituency. They had even printed documents to support why the impeachment needed to happen.
Government printers was working.
Government printers was working. On that day, it was excellent. Okay? And that goes to show, when we talk about voter suppression, it happens in many forms. I remember there was something one of the leaders said. I don't want to mention him because he's not here to defend himself. But he said, when you want to steal maize, you don't steal it when it is in the granary. You steal it when it is in the field. So are we seeing a case where the maize is being stolen when it's in the field? But that's said and done. I think one of the things we as a generation need to learn is that freedom, when you want it, there is no going back. And on this is where now I'll just differ kidogo with Sophie. You can be wounded, but the fight should never stop. I'll borrow from the late Raila Amolo Odinga, God rest his soul in peace. That man had what is called tenacity. Tortured, tear-gassed, beaten, abused. The wife was fired. Everything you could throw to a man. But because he understood the goal, he understood the mission, it was clear. He said, you can put me down, but I'll never be down. That is the awakening this generation needs. That is the kind of mobilization that we need. And people underestimate the power of a structured movement. Raila Odinga was the rallying call for ODM and ODM people around this country and the world, because he's being celebrated worldwide. So whenever his soldiers felt, that this is too much on us, he would give them that talk to tell them, bado mapambano, musilale, kanan. He had something for every situation. The river is full of crocodiles, but we will get across. That motivation needs to come from within us, the young people. The same way we mobilize on TikTok, on Spaces, and go to Kaluma Boy, where that motivation should be seen in this ballot. We need to show the world and to show the current establishment that we mean business. And every generation from the Mau Mau, average age of a Mau Mau was 22 years. They have defined their movement. Us, we are here fighting a very structured thing. But them, they went with a spear to a bullet fight. But they reorganized themselves. They did not say, these white people are too well equipped. So for us as young movement, we must define 2027 and choose to write our history, how we want to be remembered.
Right.
And if we show that the drive to register as a voter, as is enshrined in the Constitution, that it is your right to vote, own it. Don't wait for someone to come and own it for you. So it is actually our work to organize ourselves, to mobilize ourselves, to fundraise for ourselves, fill a bus, instead of going to Naivasha for the weekend, fill a bus and go to a polling station.
And you see, you talk about planning, you talk about organizing, and with that as well, even as you do all that, you are dealing with a system that is set to do things in a certain way. So enter IEBC that says this is where you will come and register. You know, we have told Kenyans the continuous voter registration is ongoing. It's up to you to come and register. So let's talk about IEBC, right? From a point of Kenyans need to be aware where your offices are. Kenyans need to be constantly told that the voter registration exercise is there. We've not seen that happen.
Yeah.
All we've seen is the chairperson coming, telling us these are the statistics we have, these are the numbers that we have, the voter registration exercise is low. But how do we fix that problem that will ensure that these young people who are not turning out, the wounded soldiers, as much as I'm wounded, I know I'm supposed to go register and my center is XYZ. That even in the event that I feel like it is far, we can have a conversation with our leaders, with other young people to go and register. Because let's not get it twisted. Not registering, there is no way young people are getting what they want.
To emphasize that, I would say that bad leaders are chosen by good citizens who just do not participate in the electoral process. And it is, first of all, important for us to note that elections is not just the election day. It is pre-election, election, and post-election. So what we do during that period then now influences the type of leaders that we have. But to just say what we need as young people to push us to go and register is basically the sort of life that we're living now. Our material conditions, number one, as young people, is at the lowest, bottom of the totem pole, deep bottom. Our healthcare systems are not working. Our education systems are not working. And who are the young parents, by the way, right now? It is us. Have you seen the fee structure for people who are going into junior secondary?
Yeah, 53K.
It's crazy. Like 53K is what the government has said.
Yeah.
We have not spoken about what the school will give you in terms of at a development, at a lunch, at a what.
Yeah.
So, for instance, let me just take an example of Nairobi and Kiambu counties. Nairobi County is literally, we are the city, but we are the dirtiest. Like, dirt has slowly encroached into our city.
Siamese twins, eh?
There is no street lighting.
Yeah.
So 24-hour economy has been killed by lack of lighting, which encroaches insecurity into our economy. So if these are not motivating factors
Yes.
for us to come out, let's talk about those who are on payslip, like you guys. You're being taxed, housing levy. So far, housing levy has collected 100 billion, and we only have 1,400 units that have been given to Kenyans, yet we were told we'd be having 250,000 units per year. If that is not motivation enough for you to go and register as a voter and demand to remove this government out. Yesterday, Kiambu County healthcare workers have been on strike for 6 months.
Right.
6 months. Yesterday, the governor and his officers chose to throw dirt at one of the stages in bid to steal that stage area. Like Nairobi, everywhere these days is a stage. Like, people are lining up in the middle of the road. Like, the road is just becoming small. There's a section in Mathare. The garbage has taken half of the road, literally.
Yeah.
Like, if these are not motivating factors for us to wake up and register as voters, I don't know what is.
But Sophie, well, Combative Friday, you are the SG of the revolutionary
Yes.
Gen Z movement.
Yes.
You are well woke to
Yes.
the situation that the
Yes.
country is in,
Yes.
as you well articulated. But then, what is the movement doing beyond being angry? Because there is the anger, and yes. That is well deserved,
Sure.
and it should be a motivating and a driving force. What is the movement doing beyond the anger? Or are the Gen Z so angry that we have forgotten that the only way the revolution will succeed is on the ballot? So what, as a movement, what are you trying to coordinate? What are you trying to inspire? What are you trying to spur so that the revolution stays alive and it comes to life come 2027 through the ballot? Because there is no shortcut according to our constitution, that as disgruntled as we all may be, if we do not participate in this discourse, and you rightly say, it's not about the voting day. It is about, from the onset, you register, become a legal participant by being registered by the IBC. But if you do not do that, you are not armed to be combative enough come the ballot day.
You see, like my colleague Anthony has said, that our tenacity is still within us. We are angry, we are dissatisfied, but we are also audacious, we are also bold. So what we are doing right now is what we call non-violent political organizing. You might not see us on the street, you might not see us pushing and protesting, but we're doing non-violent grassroots organizing. Our focus right now is to explain the issues to the masses so that we can agitate them from within to ensure that, hey, you're still woke enough to understand that sovereign power belongs to the people. So what are we doing? We are pushing a narrative, first of all, of love, healing, solidarity by what we are doing. We're standing up for Bob and Nicholas, and you're seeing us go to the embassy. We are showing that we're full of love and we will not forget these people. We are pushing a system of restorative justice where we want people to be conversations to be had. People who have been responsible for killings and disappearances to be held to account. That is what we are pushing for right now. We are pushing for us to dare to vie. Young people to dare to wake up and take up those positions. For instance, myself, I want to be the MCA of Thika Township Ward. We have several people. We are consolidating youthful aspirants so that we can campaign together, so that we can come up with our manifestos together. Well, do I think that we shall fagia wote this time? We might not be able to achieve fagia wote this time. But what we will be able to achieve is to infiltrate the parliament and to infiltrate county assemblies, so that even though they dare to say that they have won, we will impeach them. We have the numbers in parliament, we have the numbers in the county assemblies, and we will take them home because we represent the voice of the people. So what we are strategizing, if you watch football, you know you're better being on the offensive than being on the defensive. So we are planning to stay on the offensive, and that is what our organizing now is focused on.
Anthony, I want us to look at the anger that is there in the country, in the sense that nothing seems to be working, and that has to change whether we like it or not. And we are strategizing, you call it nonviolent peaceful demonstration, and we are doing this to ensure that the grassroots understand what it is we are doing. The most important aspect of all this is having the right leaders in office, whether young people or the old people, the right people in these offices, especially in parliament, would change how this country moves forward. Because for a very long time, I have argued that the power of this country does not even lie in the executive but in parliament. Because if you get the correct legislators, then you're able to have the correct laws, you're able to have individuals who check excesses and are able to push the country to the right direction. So in terms of ensuring that that is the message that people understand, that powers lies in the National Assembly and that we need the right people. I heard Rigathi Gachagua the other day say, do not elect someone because they belong to a single mother. That is not a criteria to use for voting someone into the National Assembly. Are we having these discussions openly to make people understand that we need people who can read, draft, and understand what it is they're passing in the National Assembly?
You've asked a fantastic question. I was actually just waiting for that question to come in. You know, Sophie here is vying for MCA. I, on the other side, I do work with the opposition closely to form up a strategy of how do we get the youth into active politics across all the seats. Across all the seats. And one thing you will notice is that all political parties, I'll not talk for the government, but all political parties in the oppositions have reviewed their entry fee. And this is deliberate on us in the opposition to encourage young people to enter into the political space. Why is this fee being reviewed? Number one, if you want to know a government has failed, is when a lawyer comes into the office and tells you, I graduated in law, and to be very honest, this is the much I can afford. So we do have the good brains out there. What we need to do is create a conducive environment for them to exercise that. On the part of us who are working with the opposition, is because we have the ability and the funds, we want to have a synergy of those who have been in politics for long enough, so they have the experience and they have all those. And when I talk about experience, I mean good experience. Experience is both ways. Okay? But the catalyst effect here is, like when you do titration, we shall have such a big surge of young people into the political space that we shall be the concentration level will be very high.
Yes.
That is what we want to achieve in 2027, so that the debate in the county assembly can be rich. You have a lawyer in the county assembly, someone who knows how to draft a law, someone who knows the constitution, someone who knows what their mandate is. We don't want people to learn everything on the job. We want people who are coming in, who know what they are supposed to do. Because what we've been having is, I remember, one of the things that I remember when this government came into office, one of the things the president did, he said, we go to meetings with some of you and you don't know anything about your work. So much so, he actually paid for them to be taught how to use a plate and a fork. You can remember in Naivasha, he said, I'm paying for you to be taught how to use, what is a soup spoon, what is a fork. When you talk about legislation and when you talk about, all these things, those guys were green from day one. And that explains the mess we are in. It's because the criteria we used was that of, let me just use Kiswahili. Tunataka nyumba ya mama mtu akona shida inuke kitungu. Ikinuka so, how does that change your life? So we want people who understand what is a work of CDF. What is the work of a senator? Oversight. What does oversight mean? Okay? A women rep. What is your work? MCA, when you tell you your work is to oversight the governor, to oversight county funds. So that when the governor comes there, you tell him, by the way, we are both here courtesy of the ballot. My work here is to tell you that you received X amount from government, and your work according to the constitution is A, B, C, D. We don't want to see you in Nairobi. Doing what? The reason you are a governor is to bring Nairobi to the county.
Yeah.
You can call Nairobi. You don't have to live in Nairobi. That is a conversation that young people now want. And that is what Sophie is saying.
Yes.
We've switched into the silent revolution. And that is why for those of us who came into this space because we were very good at doing social spaces on X, yesterday I was hosting a space. How do we achieve the ballot revolution? And how do we win at the ballot? And the conversations there were rich. And the conversation there, just because Sophie is in a separate entity from me, it doesn't mean me and Sophie don't talk. We talk every day, by the way. In that conversation, you will see a Luya, a Kisi, a Luo, someone from Wajir. We are having a conversation about how do we get people in Wajir? What are your problems? Why aren't you standing? Why aren't you vying? And we're actually telling young people, do you know that the entry level for an MCA in this political party is 2,500? And they go like, yes, I want to do that. I was with a guy who's vying for senator in Baringo. He came to me and told me, I'm vying for senator as an independent. What do I do? And I took him to the office and said, you are vying, yes. How do we support you? How do we educate you about how to guard your ballot during the election day? Because that is why it matters. That conversation is happening, only that now we are not shouting. Because we can't afford boardrooms, we are very busy on WhatsApp and TikTok.
Yes. However, Anthony, what would argue? Yes, the narrative is out there that people must come out and participate. People must understand their role in this political discourse. We must take back our country. That is the bare minimum. By bringing on board leadership that we duly have vetted and voted for. Once we elect them, then we trust that they're going to execute their mandate according to the Constitution. But it goes back to the active question of the day. The only way to achieve the ballot revolution is through having people fully and duly registered. Cause Sophie may be vying, and all the best. He said it's Thika Ward.
Yeah.
Thika Ward. Thika Township
Yeah.
Ward. All the best.
Thank you.
And if she does not manage to achieve the threshold of the bare minimum number that ought to be registered in this new registration cycle, then the election period is going to be a challenge. What do we do? And I know there's going to be what you call the enhanced continuous voter registration. That is the one they cascade to the towns, the phase 2. As a policy thinker, where are there? You don't have to mention them because again, you don't want the enemy to know. But are there plans, as you say, to mobilize when that phase 2 is that will be less costly? Logistics are less in terms of requirement on where to go because the ABC is supposed to bring them to your doorstep, outside the church on Sunday, on a market that is nearby,
universities.
and the universities, the bus stage and station. Apart from the one in Kiambu where they dumped garbage,
yeah.
you know. Are you trying, guys, to strategize along that so that we achieve the numbers?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, this one I'm not even going to say it is a secret because the party leader of DCP announced it.
One of the things that the opposition is doing actively is to form a very robust, united opposition youth league. Meaning, DCP, PLP, Jubilee, Wiper, the youth league will become one entity. And what do we want to achieve with this? 2 things. 1, to show that we are united. 2, to show that we will work beyond tribe.
Yes.
Because me as Anthony Moreithi will be seen in Cumberland, telling the people of Kamba, we are here because we want you to register. That is number 1. Number 2, we also want you to vote right. So this united youth league is going to come out in a very big way. We are going to mobilize in a way that has not been seen in this country. And we are very serious about it. And by the way, this government has done so many blunders. Even if you told them the thief is coming tomorrow, they will still blunder at the gate. They will still leave the gate open. You get? I'm not underestimating them. But if you want to know that a country or a person has lost his way, is when you say people in this country don't dream right. People in this country are not optimistic. I mean, you can take away everything from us, but now you're even interfering with our dreams. You want to say we don't know how, we can't control our own dreams. We are average thinkers. So, you know, the assumption is Kenya did not exist post-2022.
Yeah.
We became a republic the other day, so we don't know how systems work. Yet, the people we were telling are not ambitious. The moment you came into government, you met an expressway, an SGR, the most and the best green energy system in Africa. What have you done? Don't tell us about how inadequate we are. Tell us what you've done. Because so far, we can see the debt is going up, but we can't see where the work is.
No,
In fact, it's gone up with
And don't
4
interfere
trillion.
with our dreams, by the way.
There's a challenge there, Anthony, because you said you're in the opposition.
Yes.
And a lot of Kenyans, we are saying that the opposition is we, the people. So when you say the opposition, I would imagine it's that coalition of the deputies. The president was vouched for, campaigned for, vetted, and approved by your party leader.
Yes.
And now your party leader turns around and says, this person is not qualified. A lot of youth don't have faith in that narrative. We do appreciate the president has failed to deliver. But also what we appreciate more is that the deputy who was impeached cannot really be the one to vet another president for Kenyans. What's your take on that?
Yeah, wonderful question. The deputy president, and by the way, I'm in PLP. So Mother Karo is my party leader.
Okay.
Rigathi Gachagua was one of the principals. Said all the things he said about the president, it is true. He came with a CV. The same way when someone applies for a job in a company like this, you hire them based on your CV and the story they give you across the table. After that, you tell them you are hired or we shall put you on an internship program to see whether you suit, whether you understand your JD, your job description. So when the former deputy president vetted, campaigned, and said, we want Kitungu inuke kwa this house, it is because we are working with a document which was brought to all Kenyans. Okay? Now we took William Ruto, the president, on an internship program that is very expensive. It's the most expensive, I think, in the world, because Kenya has one of the most expensive elections. And after he failed, Ruto is a classic example. He said, now you failed, but because you are there constitutionally and I cannot remove you, the same energy I used to put you there is the same energy I'll use to remove you. And he's not doing this as an individual now. He's saying collectively, young people, old people, millennials, Gen Alphas, people in the diaspora, we all now come together and agree that this vetting now needs a broad-based approach. Hence the name that we are saying we are the united opposition, where we have all the demographics now represented. The young, the old, the middle class, everyone is represented in this discussion, including the diaspora people, because they form the highest remittance to this country. So they have a big stake and a big say in this conversation.
You see, we will have this conversation on how bad Ruto is, how he came in with a CV, but the implementation was bad. You know, we will we will complain over and over again. But if we don't get the solution to it, there is nowhere that people will be headed. So here is a question where I want to look at from a broader perspective, where it is everyone who is in leadership today was a young person at a specific time, and they had the dream of changing this country to be a better place. President William Ruto belongs to YK92. Conversation on what it is, but it was a youth-led movement, you know. Everybody else, you look at their journey towards politics, they started the clamor to leadership as a young people with the dream of making Kenya a better place. Today, as the older generation that we have in the country, what we talk about perhaps is not the dream they had when they were young people. Something changed. And one would say it is based off the influence that they picked from the predecessors that were there before them. As the young people today who want to change the situation in the country, we want things to work, we want services to get to us, we want proper governance, respecting the rule of law. How are we surrounding ourselves with individuals who have good ideals, who are not compromised, who will lead us to Canaan or to Jerusalem, and ensure that we do that in the right way? Are we talking to individuals who have the country's best interest at heart? Because as young people as well, there is no way one would say we are getting there without guidance. Guidance is needed. How are we seeking this guidance to ensure that we do not become the worst examples in our future lives?
You see, at the end of the day, bottom line, it comes down to who you are as a person and your values, how you've been raised, what you believe in, what is your belief. I think it is time as Kenyans we start having an approach that is not emotional, but absolutely logical.
Right.
We need to move from a crowd and a mass that is moved by emotion, and we need to sit now at the table that allows logic to prevail. So if we need, first of all, to stop having serious concentration on one elective seat. We have 5 other elective seats that the intention of these seats was to devolve. He said, bring Nairobi to Mashinani.
Right.
So if we are not vetting the people who are closest to us, especially like the MCAs, if you're not vetting your MCA, then development will not reach you. So in terms of us, first of all, seeking guidance, it is to first self-analyze. Who am I as an aspirant? Analyze me. Where did I go to school? Who are my friends? What do I do during the weekends? How do I hang out? How do I have fun? Am I a drug addict? Being young doesn't equate being good. Being a woman doesn't equate being good. So first of all, we need to remember that the people in power, the system, they are constantly organizing. They are constantly planning on how they will stay in power. In fact, they are planning so much so that they immediately they got into power, there was an assumption of office bill and transition of the presidency. What does that say? It says that immediately you are said to be the president-elect, you assume powers of the president. So you assume monopoly of violence. You assume signatory rights to read this country dry, the coffers. For 21 days, you can be president before the petitions are dealt with. We need to understand that they are planning, so we are also planning. You need to remember that they said even a car will be a polling station. So how are we planning to guard those votes? And lastly, how are we planning to initiate election reforms and police reforms ahead of this election? So my call, especially to those who are in the united opposition and those who are holding positions of power in parliament currently, because WIPA has MPs in parliament and Senate, DAP has people in parliament. I call them to initiate election reforms that allows social media to actually cover these elections to ensure they are free, fair and secure and verifiable, to initiate reforms that curtail campaign financing, to compel IEBC to actually vet, because IEBC is supposed to vet aspirants, to compel IEBC to actually vet them. And if you're not credible, you're not on the ballot.
Right.
So what we are trying to say is, we have the numbers.
Nice.
If even we look at the last election, 8 million Kenyans did not participate.
Right.
So if we can appeal, number one, to these 8 million voters and give them a candidate who stands out in terms of integrity, in terms of progressive thinking, in terms of forgiveness and love and solidarity and healing, then we first of all have 8 million. Then we tap into the employers and the employees who are disgruntled. Then we come to the youth, the marginalized group, the youth, the women, the people with disability. If we can consolidate all those numbers, then I don't know where Ruto is going to get his votes from. But remember,
Yes.
there's one curtailing factor. When the census was done, the northeastern area had a problem with their numbers. And I think that is his plan, to manipulate those numbers so much so
Yes.
that he says that he has the numbers to come back.
And I mean-
But if he dares to steal, there shall be a revolution.
You see-
And that is given.
You see, we are here, and I think it's good that you're now talking about solutions as young people, you
Yes.
know, because we went to the streets, you know, we know what that happened, what that did. Right now, we young people are injured. We are strategizing silently, but here we are aligning ourselves with political parties with ideals that we must change. Kenya has to be better. But even while at that, power is never given.
Yes.
Power is taken. And as the young people understand that power is taken, the only weapon that a young person must have is the vote. And everyone must make sure, including IEBC and government agencies, that the 6.3 million that they are targeting end up to the ballot. But there is even, let me also just throw a spanner in the works. We're talking about 6.3 million. But remember, we have those who are clearing high school. They are not in that
Yeah.
equation. By the time 2026 ends, we have another 1 million that perhaps would also be getting there. So we're talking about around 8.3 million that IEBC might want to also extend their focus on, who wants to end up there. As a young people, do young people understand the power there is in the vote, other than the power of organizing, going to the streets and organizing on the social media? Do young people today understand that my vote equals to better governance? My vote equals to a working healthcare system? Do the young people understand that my vote means jobs? Anthony.
You know, you've asked, again, a wonderful question. And those are the questions we ask ourselves when we meet. How do we cascade the power of the vote to the voter? In particular, the new voter. Because if we get it right with the new voter, then we have figured out Kenyans' problems to a large extent. And let me say, you see, when you talk about why we young people are working with the opposition, it is crystal clear why. If you want to cure yourself of any disease, you cannot look at medicine. You have to swallow the medicine. So instead of us being out,
We went and said, and let me tell you, for us who work with the opposition, and for me, because I work closely with my party leader, Martha Karua, it is not because, but the criteria was not because I was young. The criteria was because what value is Anthony bringing to PLP? Yes. And it was not a soft landing. You've dealt with my party leader. You have to convince her beyond reasonable doubt that you are bringing value to this discussion. So instead of us now looking at government and pointing a finger, looking at the opposition and pointing a finger, we said, let us be part of this conversation. And I want to give you some light. One of the things that has happened in my party is that there are term limits. The same way we are saying the president has term limits, PLP also has term limits now. Why was this necessary? To allow the old to exit, and now they move to what is called the Council of Eminence, the elders. So they don't take part in the running of the party. And to allow young people to come in. But as they are there on that bench of the elders, they mentor these young people. You know, when you get excited, they tell you, now you're getting excited. Calm down. You know, that is what we are doing in the opposition. I don't know what other people are doing, but I know what we are doing. Number two, you can see that we have the conversation today on Spice FM is a progressive one. When 2024, when we were here, this was rage. Past rage, now we are talking about how do we get Sophie elected? How do we get the people who will vote for Sophie to vote for Sophie? Not because she comes from a poor home, but because Sophie understands her mandate. Yes. She understands her job description. We moved from nyumba inuke kwa kitungu inuke kwa nyumba, yes, to the constitution.
Well, Anthony, that is good, and we hope this conversation continues because we still have a bit of time to before we get to the ballot in 2027. And you mentioned something, Sophie, that the only way to participate in a game actively with an attitude of winning is to be on the offensive, not the defensive. So let's hope that Kenyans will understand that if we do not become offensive by owning our vote, yes, by standing out and speaking truth to power, because a lot of injustices continue to happen, then the revolution that we are in may not get to manifest fully. Yeah. However, we may want to think beyond a party and a political leadership. Because remember, the regime is just but a symptom of what is ailing us. Our enemy is poverty. You said our material situation of the country and the young people is wanting. So we must find a way to continue the revolution to the ballot and bring economic liberation. What regime are we bringing back? What kind of people do we want to be in office?
Really, first of all, is to eliminate the authority of the ruler. And the ruler has understood that he has to keep us poor, he has to keep us hungry, he has to keep us wanting so that he can control us. So if we find a way to eliminate his authority through having our votes, then first of all, we have weakened him. We will be eternal vigilantes. We will not leave him. Whatever he does, we are on his case. We will ensure Kenyans know exactly what he is doing every single day. And lastly, we will love this life and we will love this country more than William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza organization. We will love it so much so that we will plan and take him home, and Ruto must go, and he will go.
Well put.
Yes.
You know, and with that, I think let's just go through the numbers. So 16,512 Nairobi, those are registered voters. Kiambu 9,917. Machakos 4,026. Mombasa 3,967. Nakuru 3,265. Meru 3,128, and the list goes on. We only hope that in the coming days, those that are being targeted will get out there and get to exercise what is their right, you know, get that vote and go vote. On the show, Anthony Murithi Mugo, political strategist and policy thinker, and Sophie Mugure Njehia, SG, the revolutionary Gen Z movement. This conversation must indeed continue. Asanteni sana at 8 a.m. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
When I was called,